Sean Connery's personal life was as intriguing as his acting. Legendary actor dated broadly, lived bravely, and rarely looked back. There was one romance that refused to die. Long after breakups, distance, and Hollywood mayhem left one lady in place. His heart. Their story wasn't straightforward. It unfolded over years off the public radar. When Connery finally mentioned the woman he could never forget, it disclosed a deeply personal part few others understood. Unknown Connery origins. Long before he was James, Bond was Thomas Shaw Connery. Youth in Edinburgh, his pals called Tommy. Though he later adopted his middle name, Shaw, the Big Tam was his most persistent moniker. Not hard to see why. Connery was special as a child. At 12, he was already bigger than his classmates. He reached his maximum height, a robust 18, intimidating 6 feet 2 inches. His working-class Scottish family valued hard effort and perseverance. His father worked as a factory laborer and truck driver, mother a cleaner. Money was tight, and everyone helped. That lesson hit Sean early. Before he even at 16, he delivered milk in Edinburgh early in the morning. From there, jobs kept going. Anything clear stopped, at least temporarily. Sense of his future. Connery became known as a young female's dude. He confessed to losing years later virginity at 14 to an auxiliary territorial army woman service, the World War II British Army's women's section. He didn't understand how much that first meeting would affect him. He was too young. Connery wanted to fight in battle. Upon turning 16, he joined the Royal Navy. He fully embraced life, acquiring 2 tattoos soon. A family-oriented one, the other reading Scotland forever. When most teens were still finding themselves, Connery was a totally tattooed sailor. He learned gunfire school and joined an anti-aircraft crew, immersing himself in military life. For he considered joining the Navy after 3 years. It happened suddenly. Finished. A severe duodenal ulcer prompted Connery to the Navy to medically dismiss him. Though barely out of his teens, he returned to Edinburgh without a strategy or safety net. Following was Aspen of strange jobs that seemed unbelievable. He drove trucks and a lifeguard and T hired him to clean coffins. Scott. He even modeled for local college art students. One thing persisted. Obsessed with bodybuilding. Connery got serious about bodybuilding, training hard, and competing. Yet he never reached the top. Some of it was simple. He kept playing football. Many American bodybuilders avoided Connery couldn't avoid the pitch for fear of losing muscle. He played for various teams he was noticed for his talent. The lifetime offer followed. At 23-year-old working-class Edinburgh lad invited to play for Manchester United. For most players, that would have ended the dream. Connery briefly rejoiced that he mentally calculated that football careers were brief. Most players peaked around 30, and he didn't desire nothing after the cheers. Amazingly, Forsyth rejected the offer. Other doors were opening, thankfully. In preparation for bodybuilding contests, a pal advised South Pacific touring auditions. Connery went along and made the chorus. He slowly moved the show. Grew into bigger roles. For once, acting wasn't fun. A fantasy. It seemed conceivable. His employment paid the bills and introduced him to romance and new chances. Connery started dating Carol Spell. Sometimes it felt substantial, yet her family disliked him because to his heritage. They made him feel unwelcome, and connection ended suddenly. The heartbreak was severe, problems were imminent. Connery was raised in poverty and street violence, but one this night would establish his Edinburgh reputation. It began in a pool hall when the feared Valder gang tried to steal his jacket. Everyone in town knew them. They were infamous for razor sewing knives into their garments, a horrific method to slit their throats to try to grasp. Connery persisted. Later, the gang followed his Paula Don's job, where 6 cornered him on an upstairs balcony. Their goal was plain: do him harm. What surprised them, Connery was strong. He exercised regularly at a weightlifting hall and understood how to fight. After a brief fight, he seized 2 men, one in each hand, and smashed their heads together. The other 4 fled. After that night, no one disturbed him. The incident won him the city's most violent gang's respect and solidified his strongman image. Off the streets, Connery was remarkably focused. Determined to be a serious actor, he read Shakespeare, Ibsen, and Tolstoy at night. He took elocution courses to reduce his heavy Edinburgh accent. He was changing internally and externally. Even so, success was slow. The 1950s dragged. Connery agreed that whatever work he could, minor cinema, theater, and stage roles appearances on TV. He became a babysitter to survive. Casting his gruff appearance attracted directors who offered him harsh assignments. Laborers, boxers, trucks drivers. He made his first big breakthrough. Connery scored that main role alongside Lana Turner in Another Time, Another Place. They acted lovers. Tabloids gushed about the chemistry off-screen. Photographers accompanied them to fancy London eateries, sparking affair allegations. The issue was major. Turner dated volatile mafia enforcer Johnny Stompanato, linked to criminal boss Mickey Cohen. His relationship with Turner was violent and destructive. After hearing about Connery, Stompanato burst. He threatened Turner flew to London to confront Connery. In spite of Turner, Stompanato entered the film's studio despite warnings. Love moment being filmed. Connery was reportedly shot by him. Connery acted quickly. He seized Stompanato's wrist, disarmed him, and took him down with one punch. Stompanato was arrested and deported the U.S. Unfortunately, the story soon turned sad. Stompanato was slain in nasty fight with Turner. Her 14-year-old daughter Cheryl Crane stabbed him to save her mother. Crane was found guilty of justified homicide by a coroner's jury, discharged after weeks in juvenile incarceration. The mob rejected the verdict. They thought someone should pay. Rumors again targeted Connery. Mickey Cohen reportedly contacted Connery at the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel and said, "Leave town or die." Connery knew the risk. He received a 7-year contract as his career took off. With 20th Century Fox. Survival was his choice. He discreetly moved to they hid in San Fernando Valley until the situation calmed down. Later, Connery said he didn't want to test the mob's patience. He concealed himself, working and waiting out the storm, not realizing that just around the life-defining duty was around the corner. Decision that impacted everything. Sean Connery was never quite right at the polished Hollywood stars of the moment. He looked like a rough diamond, rough and unpolished. Most of his renegade appeal paid off over time. He initially met Julie Hamilton, a photojournalist, opposite Consequence. She later admitted seeing him as repulsive. Then something unexpected changed everything. One day, Hamilton noticed in a Scottish kilt, Connery proudly displayed his roots. Transformation was instant. Same man she disregarded suddenly struck her as terribly striking. Her opinion changed completely, and she soon called him the most attractive man she had ever seen. Connery, who his affections for her returned after being passionately pulled to her. The two swiftly moved in together, meeting each other's families and living in a modest London flat, building a solid partnership. As Connery worked hard to become a serious actor, Hamilton became his biggest fan. Their bond was mutual. Loyalty, which would be severely tested. In 1960, Hamilton received a terrifying and potentially fatal diagnosis of TB. Almost Connery also got the role actresses dream about for their entire careers, in the epic historical El Cid with Charlton H. That kind of part things may suddenly make him famous. Connery struggled to choose between career and personal growth and dedication. He decided to stay at Hamilton's side, sacrificing fame to help her recover. A gigantic professional risk. Despite expectations, the risk paid off. Industry did not ban. He was granted another chance, confirming that his career would not be easy. Love first destruction. To outsiders, Connery and Hamilton seemed destined to marry. The duo was considered one of Hollywood's brightest, yet relationship ended quietly and awkwardly moment. While relaxing in bed, Hamilton said the tipping point occurred. Without warning, Diane Cinto, whom Connery had met, was casually complimented for her eyes working with on a TV show while married. Hamilton immediately detected a change. Connery replied to her direct question. He bluntly admitted that his feelings for her had vanished. The relationship ended abruptly, moving closer to what many imagined a lasting romance. Years later, they met again under diverse conditions. Hamilton married and had a son named Jason. Connery shared a personal moment with them pledged to name his son Jason if he had one. Appreciation to her help during his struggles. Connery Gro's relationship with Diane Cinto was complicated because remained married. It also placed him in the appropriate setting at the right time. Cinto introduced him in producer Harry Saltzman's unusual attempt to bring Ian film adaptation of Fleming's James Bond books. It was difficult to get the job guaranteed. Fleming fiercely clashed with the filmmakers on Bond's actor, preferring a more sophisticated and dapper actor. Studio first pursued Cary Grant, but discussions failed when Grant declined to work on multiple films. Meanwhile, producers envisioned long-running franchise. The creators held a public search for their protagonist at Talent Search, choosing a winner who couldn't act. Not until Sean Connery gained attention, he approached the audition unconventionally to strategy. Instead of seeming clean and refined, Connery embraced his nature. His clothes were a bit scruffy and conveyed a working-class edge. Risky move turned out to be right sought by producers. They spotted something special in him and cast him. Bond in Dr. No, changing his career forever. Even if Connery had worked hard to improve his accent and charisma, the producers recognized more was needed. He became exquisite after a crash course in etiquette, style, and social refinement audiences would associate with the character's casual confidence. Introduction of Bond became a cinematic highlight. When Sylvia Trench inquired his name at a casino, Connery said the line that defined the franchise and his legacy. Dr. No exploded. International success. Connery's personal life moved fast. Around by the film's release, Cinto had divorced and learned she was expecting and accepted Connery's marriage proposal. Bond craze has hit the U.S. Kingdom. The pair married secretly in Gibraltar. That private plan faced major challenges. Political unrest in Gibraltar was high, and they traveled separately to avoid attention that made issues unforeseen. Border agents detained Cinto for a passport clerical error, missing her ferry and nearly missing personal wedding. A tight delay brought her to Gibraltar, and the couple wed. Later, their relationship would be tumultuous. When their son was born, Connery named the child Jason as promised years previously. Cinto abandoned her acting profession to support Connery's blossoming career and raise their children. Family. She took their small boy to From Russia with Love. Next Bond payment. In spite of Bond's success, not everyone initially considered Connery ideal. Ian Fleming first favored Roger Moore. Connery's portrayal changed Fleming's mind in time, drastically that he changed Bond's demeanor in later volumes. Connery's performance sparked additional fun and charisma, while Bond made Connery a global star, but also put pressure on him. On his marriage. Connery feared before accepting the multi-film contract that playing repetition would indelibly typify Bond. Strangely, Cinto had urged him to. She regretted accepting the position as pressure and celebrity mounted to end their romance. By 1965, their marriage broke. Cinto revealed she was leaving with their child. Connery replied going away before she could entirely separate from him emotionally. Though briefly reunited, professional Bond was irreparable during Thunderball. Crew members often heard intense arguments between them, indicating escalating strain. Their rivalry off-camera intensified. Connery's career soared while Cinto faltered. Momentum. Despite efforts to save the marriage, it became evident that their relationship was ending. While Bond's overpowering success gave Connery Hollywood negotiation power to avoid being characterized by the spy role, he used his fame to get a job, that key role in Hitchcock's Marne. Connery had 2 Bond films left by contract that want to act beyond Secret Agent, but the Bond series kept drawing him back. Connery was recognized for executing many of his own stunts before it became commonplace stars. That commitment nearly killed during production of Thunderball. One risky sequence required Connery to swim in a live shark pool. Understandably nervous, he was reassured by building a plexiglass barrier between him and the animals. Unfortunately, the material shortages left the shield unfinished. One filmed during a shark entered Connery's pool through a barrier opening. The situation escalated instantly. Connery immediately scrambled to get out of the water soon. His quick escape probably saved him. He saved the Bond franchise from a fatal accident. Scariest film behind-the-scenes tales. Stardom had costs. Beginning in the 1960s, Sean Connery seemed to live the dream most actors dream of. He was recently married and had obtained a generation-defining post. He looked like James Bond at his best. But after a decade, exhilaration turned to frustration. Connery felt confined both professionally and personally, and the wonderful success began feeling constricting. The tension broke immediately before production on You Only Live began twice. Connery informed the studio that he was ready to leave Bond. Producers scrambled to assess the franchise's future without its star. Meanwhile, his marriage to Diane Cinto deteriorated. The specifics of how she responds to his choice is uncertain. The couple divorced in February 1971. Connery soon resumed dating in Hollywood after the separation. Romance became as complicated as work for him. He was associated to famous actresses Magda Konopka and Lana Wood. While filming Diamonds Are Forever in 1971, Connery became involved with Wood and co-star Jill St. John simultaneously. Industry sources later recommended this contributed to the two actresses' public quarrel for years. Decades. After Connery left Bond, producers replaced him with Australian model and actor George Lazenby. Lazenby even had a contract ambitious 7-film deal. However, his term ended quickly. He quit after one appearance. Lack of security permanent successor left the franchise insecure. An unexpected in 1971, Connery reprised the role. Even if he tried to avoid the character, mostly business and artistic leverage drove the choice. Demanded and record compensation and convinced the company to fund 2 of his personal film projects after another Bond payment. After the studio consented, Connery employed a big share of his salary to help Scottish artists, reflecting his devotion to his country. Formerly Diamonds Are Forever, Connery worked on acting ventures to expand his range. He worked with director Sidney Lumet, and his close friend Michael Caine later starred The Man Who Would Be King. He played an aged Robin Hood in an ensemble film, Mystery by Agatha Christie. These roles showed his versatility. Not every project profited. 1974, Connery took Zardos. His most odd role was a science fiction flick. Strange film concept and his unique costume was widely criticized. Even though the film struggled, it gained cult status among audiences. According to director John Borman, Connery accepted the assignment partly because he was having trouble finding steady work. After leaving Bond early, in the 1980s, Connery became a film icon. He shocked viewers again by returning to Bond in 1983 and Oh More Nevers. Title mirrored his earlier promise to never reconsider the job. Production was quite hectic. Connery weighed heavily involved in creative decisions, script modifications, and writer selection. Production: when the film's fight trainer fractured Connery's wrist during rehearsals, problems arose. Young Steven Seagal, whose martial arts training was meant to prepare him, was responsible. Connery for action. He later remembered the injury as a memorable behind-the-scenes experience. Career. Connery eventually realized he was overconfident at training and tried to display a technique beyond his ability, causing the accident. After the difficult film Never Say Never Again, Connery left Hollywood for 2 years. He returned with outstanding success. His Untouchables act garnered him an Oscar award for Best Supporting Actor, presenting him to younger audiences. His strength grew to notoriety by playing Indiana Jones' father, Henry Jones Sr. Indiana Jones, in The Last Crusade. Despite career success, personal life remained controversial for Connery. In 1993, singer Lindsay DePaul declared an affair. 1989 affair with him. She claimed their romance started after they started at a party and ended abruptly after many months. The charges were refuted by Connery. Actress Lana Wood also mentioned a supposed affair during Diamonds Are Forever filming. She said their relationship ended amicably when she learned she liked someone else. Connery again refuted these claims. Additionally, Danish journalist Helle Byrne claimed she established a relationship with Connery after an interview. Throughout these disputes, Michaeline Roabon, Connery's second wife, kept quiet but maintained public support. John Connery's vocal support for Scotland independence affected his public image. His patriotism began with him. His tattoos showed his allegiance to Scotland and his family throughout naval service. His political stance reportedly due to opposition, his knighthood was delayed. In 2000, he was ultimately knighted by Queen Elizabeth II in Edinburgh. Connery said the award one of his finest moments, especially because it happened on Scottish soil. Connery appeared throughout the late 1990s and early 2000s in films, but his final significant project was difficult. The Connery and director clashed during League of Extraordinary Gentlemen production, Stephen Norrington. Their confrontations grew so heated that sources stated almost turned physical. The tension persisted after filming finished, and Connery made a snide remark about the absent director during film promotions. He left live-action film. However, he never retired making post-project. In 2006, Connery declared his retirement from acting, expressed unhappiness with deteriorating quality in the film industry. Even though Bond was renowned, many admirers weren't aware he had lost his hair early and used hairpiece while playing the famous spy. The same year, his Diane Cinto, his ex-wife, wrote an autobiography alleging physical and emotional abuse in marriage. Connery refuted the charges and said that woman abuse was never justifiable. However, older interviews returned in which Connery made disturbing remarks regarding relationships, and physicality conflict reignites public debate and criticism. As of October 31, in 2020, Sean Connery, 90, died quietly in his sleep residing in Bahamas. Micheline Roabon, his wife, described his final moments their existence together as fulfilling. Medical reports listed old age contributed to his pneumonia and atrial fibrillation mortality, contributing to his decline. Later, Roran said in his last years, Connery fought with dementia, calling it painful because eventually deprived him of communication. Among close friends later, Michael Caine and Jackie Stewart discussed Connery's mental slide was terrible to watch. After his death, Connery's ultimate wish was to be repatriated after being cremated in the Bahamas. Scotland. Later, his relatives spread his ashes. St. Andrews at the Royal and Ancient Golf Club, a special place for him. The ceremony was delayed by the global COVID-19 outbreak, but completed according to his wishes. Connery enjoyed quiet and seclusion in Nassau for nearly 30 years. Relative privacy. However, his residence there drew criticism. Particularly for his strong support for Scottish independence. Critics called him hypocritical for backing Scottish nationalism abroad. Connery tried release financial declarations indicating considerable tax contributions to refute these charges. The UK. He still faces political and personal debates. Choices continued after his death, revealing his complex legacy, a man who was celebrated and controversial during his life. The one-woman Sean Connery never got over is named. Following his divorce from Diane Cinto, Sean Connery dated for years. However, one woman stuck out. The French-Moroccan painter Micheline Roabon. Their partnership became one of the best his life's most significant events. Their story begins at a 1970 golf event in Morocco. When Micheline saw Connery, she had no notion she was looking at a global movie star. He was only an object to her. Handsome, powerful dude. She later stated that she initially saw from behind and was immediately impressed by his athletic build, but she had no idea of his reputation or career. The same night, she had a vivid dream of being in his arms and feeling loved, tremendous tranquility and contentment. Her dream was so powerful that she returned to tournament the next day to find him. Their meeting created an instant bond neither expected they could ignore. As Micheline said, they had some linguistic barriers early on, mostly French, Connery English. Even so, they swiftly used gestures, expressions, and shared experiences to communicate. Their chemistry was obvious from the start. Their relationship grew quickly. Their attraction became intimate within a day of meeting, starting a passionate relationship. Affair. As Connery was still wedded to Cinto, circumstances complicated, but it didn't halt his and Micheline's emotional intensity. Micheline would later remember those initial days as overpowering and unforgettable. She said Connery's charisma and physical presence captivated her, for they had a strange routine for several days after meeting. Their public behavior was though acquaintances, they spent time on the golf course together while keeping appearances. In private, their love grew swiftly, and both later found those early moments tremendously transformational. Despite their deep friendship, reality split them. From Morocco, they returned home, distinct lifestyles and connections. Nearly 2 years passed without touch. Each other. Micheline unexpectedly received a meeting invitation. Connery in Marba, Spain. Early on, she approached the invitation with doubts about his motives and the wisdom of reuniting. But when they met, again, uncertainties vanished. Connery admitted he had never stopped thinking about her, and their emotional connection returned. Their relationship grew despite logistical issues. Micheline lived in North Africa, with her children, resulting in protracted separations. Despite the distance, Connery stayed devoted to her. Later, he called Micheline outstanding. He declared her his lifelong love. Their romance persisted while finishing their prior marriages privately. They were once free to commit, media attention increased. Wedding rumors arose in the early 1970s. Connery intentionally misled reporters in early 1975 by saying they were married months previously. In truth, the ceremony had occurred when they married later that year. Connery picked Gibraltar. He married his first wife years previously at the same site. Despite the odd coincidentally, Connery and Micheline's marriage lasted longer. Their partnership lasting decades, based on love, respect, and similar values interests. In the 1990s, the couple moved permanently to Bahamas, moving into a large villa for a tranquil life away from the spotlight. Even after years together, made an attempt to keep their relationship romantic by spending time together and enjoying private excursions. Friends and outsiders remarked their bond remained strong. Playfulness and compassion into old age. Stories occasionally appeared about them enjoying basic activities, confirming their bond vital and private. It seemed Connery approached aging with acceptance and confidence. Micheline sometimes worried about time moving quickly, but Connery saw aging as just another chapter of life, believing new challenges and experiences were always ahead. Over time, their marriage symbolized Connery's stability, otherwise prominent and occasionally irritable public life. Their partnership survived celebrity, distance, and time to become one of the most meaningful relationships in his life.